Hello and welcome to another Spark AR tutorial video. In this video we'll be looking at creating a dual lens effect which will change depending on whether you're using your front or rear camera on your mobile device. So I'll be building this using version 61.2 on the Mac. This also though will work on newer versions and the Windows version. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly create a new project. Like so, and then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to import a plane. Actually no, I'm going to import a rectangle because I want something to be representative of what will be on my rear camera. So the effect I'm going to go and build with this will be a kind of when you're pointing your rear camera at a scene, we'll have a sort of neon ring, I suppose. But when you then flip the camera to be the front view and you have your face detected, it will show a pattern over the person's face. So I'm just going to insert this rectangle like so. And I'm just going to basically create and add my scene first, and then I'm going to go into import my assets and how we generate the control method afterwards using patches. So I've got my rectangle. What I'm also going to do is I'm also going to import a face mesh, like so. So my face tracker and my face mesh will be what will be shown when the front camera is on, and my canvas and rectangle is what I want to be shown when my rear camera is on. So I'm just going to import some files from my machine. So I'm going to import this sequence I've made for the neon face. So let's just import that like so. Now this image in this file might be a bit too large, so the compression will be a bit poor. It's quite worth noting that you want to try and ideally keep your project, you need to keep your project below 20 megabytes, but obviously the kind of goal is somewhere in the 5 megabyte to less kind of region to allow your mobile device and your application to load fast and give the user a good frame rate experience. So as you see, it's importing, so my computer is now going to have a bit of a meltdown as it tries to import this. So I'm now going to import my second animation sequence. And this second animation sequence will be the ring that appears on the back of our camera. If you ever need to adjust your compression settings in your project, you just simply go to Project, Edit Properties, and we can go over to Compression and we can adjust how our compression is done, so how strong it is and how much the end user has to sort of deal with that. So at the moment it's set to its smart compression maximum resolution. I'm actually probably going to drop that to probably about 256-ish, and then just hit apply. And now if I just press escape to come out of here and return to my workspace. So what I want to do now is I need to put my circle texture onto my rectangle and my neon face animation onto my face mesh. So I need to create two new materials. And I will call this material face texture, and then I'll just quickly create another material and I'll call this material back texture. And then my face texture, I want to use my change my shader type to be flat. And I want to change my texture, in this case, to be my face animation. And on my back texture, I want to keep this, I'm going to change this to flat again. Actually no, I'm going to keep this as standard actually, because I'm going to add some emission to it. And I'm going to change this to my circle animation. And then I'll just want to simply go over to my rectangle and apply my back material to my rectangle. And on my face mesh, I want to apply my face texture, like so. And if we just have a look at this preview window down here, we should see that we have these two looping animations at the moment that are just there all the time. Now I can always go into my rectangle and obviously adjust its size under its properties. So I could adjust this to be twice as big if I wanted it to be, like so. And if I wanted this ring to give off some sort of emission, bear in mind emission is light that it gives off itself, but it will not interact with the scene or what the surroundings. I'll just simply go onto my back texture and under emission, click on the little box to enable it, and then give it an emission color to which to amplify its effect. So now we should have our ring is now a little bit more of a glow than it was before. And I can obviously scale this back by taking away some of the glow by making it more dark. And I'm also going to do exactly the same on my face texture, which will mean I need to change it back to standard type. And again, on emission, I'm just going to go somewhere in the half mark, like so. Now you'll notice at the moment we're getting this sort of colour effect where the canvas is intercepting our face, so it's not always working as we would expect or hope. So if I just quickly switch to my face camera for a second. Let's wait for that to kick in. Like so. So now you can sort of see how it's supposed to work. So we have this sort of animation, some rough lines I just drew in After Effects and exported as an image sequence. Nothing overly amazing. Obviously I'd want to build, something a bit more impressive than that. But we've also got this ring here at the moment. So I'm just going to go back to our template woman. And we're now going to actually need to tell our project how to understand when our device is using the front or back camera on our phone, and then only show according to which camera is enabled. So to do that, I just go up to my workspace and open up my patch editor. I go over to my device camera, so up here under scene camera, and I drag my camera into my patch editor. And as you'll notice, it gives us our controls for our front and back camera activities. If I enable my front camera active, like so, and I want to click and drag from here, and I want to add an if this and else sort of statement. So if then else statement, and insert this. And I'm going to change this type to be a Boolean by right clicking type Boolean. So when the front camera is active, I want the face mesh to be visible but the ring to not be. So I go to my canvas rectangle, click on the little visibility, under properties visible, click little circle. This adds in our circle rectangle visibility detector, and I link this up to my condition, like so. So now if the front camera is active, this means that that circle or our rear image is now inactive. But what I want to do is I want it also to be the opposite way around. So how do I get the face to be invisible? Well, I could drag off of my back camera active and do the similar thing with an if then else statement. But why do that when I've already got one here? That kind of knows what it's front or back. So what I could do is I could actually inverse this operation here. Because at the moment it's detecting if front camera is true, then rectangle is not visible. But if I link off here and I go to and add a not logic, and then go to my face mesh and add in the visibility property here, and then link my not to my visible on my face mesh, nothing will change if we see it here. But if I go to my preview simulator up here and click on the little gear, I can change my device to use the back camera. And what would happen on our mobile devices, we'd be able to see it swap between the face mesh and the ring. Now, this doesn't work using the little pre-sample videos it gives you. So if I just switch this to my FaceTime camera for a second. So at the moment, still doing this effect. And if I switch it back to my front camera, we shouldn't see any change. It should still show us regardless. So it's not actually at the moment showing us that anything's happening. The reason for that is essentially, the way to think of it is the simulator can't emulate two lenses. Your laptop only has one camera in it. Same with the simulator, it can't actually change between the front and back camera. So the logic doesn't apply on the simulator. So it may not look like it's working, but if I was to now run this onto my phone by simply plugging my phone into my device, like so, and then simply mirror my effect to my device. So as you can see, this is the front lens camera on my effect. So whenever the front lens is detected, this facial mesh will appear with this looping animation on. Again, the animation pretty basic, created in After Effects, not super good. Obviously, it's just made for speed more than anything. If I now switch to my rear lens, we now have the little square, our little canvas image that has our looping animation of the ring on it. And then if I switch back to my front camera, that will disappear and the face mesh appears again. Just to sort of prove a point, if I was to point this phone at myself like so, you'll notice that the face mesh still doesn't appear. It still only keeps the ring, because obviously the face mesh is told to disappear when the rear lens is used and only appear when the front lens is used. So that's how we can start to generate two lens effects. Obviously this is a very primitive basic example, but you could try merging this with the idea of, if you point your lens at a piece of art, maybe that has some 3D image tracking on it, or target tracking. But then when you switch it to the first person view, selfie cam, it then puts the artwork or something on the user. So you're getting two effects in one lens, essentially. Just remember though that obviously you've got to keep it below the 20 megabyte limit, and the more advanced you go with your effect, the more data it uses, the lower the frame rate gets, and the worse the user experience tends to be. So I hope this has been of some use to some of you guys and gals, and I am aiming to try and keep to my one video a week schedule and try and improve that in the near future. Thank you for watching.